Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I'm back with part 2 of What If Deku had a half fire, half lightning quirk. It seems y'all really enjoyed the first part. I appreciate all the love and support that y'all give on not only that video, but all the others as well. So I'm going to be trying to get these videos out as soon as possible. If that means daily, if that means every other day, whatever, I'm still gonna try to be consistent, as I've most of the time have been throughout my time on YouTube. As most of y'all know, I have other channels. I don't normally promote these channels on this channel because I just don't really care that much about cross promoting. But yeah, if you want to check them out, you can. They're probably somewhere in my channel thing. But with that said, though, I'm not gonna waste that much time, and we're just gonna get into part 2, and that's where we're getting to exactly where we left off. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya charges forward. The entrance exam. Now it's time to show exactly what he has. After absolutely destroying, absolutely melting the first robot he sees, he can feel his power surging throughout his entire body. That he feels something that he's never felt before. This power feels potent, controlled, adaptive, as if he's now getting this feeling of adrenaline that he's never felt in his life. He begins destroying robot after robot, melting some with fire, or at least his limited fire that he currently has been training, and electrocuting or short-circuiting other robots as well. Let's be honest, this entrance exam is kind of perfect for Izuku. There would be no doubt in him winning and doing extremely well, if not the best in the exam. We're talking about robots that could be electrocuted, destroyed, overcharged, out-circuited, and so on and so forth. Izuku's quirks are perfect for this. They're made of metal, he has fire. They have electricity and components, he has lightning. All of these things support and affect and help him at the end of the day. So Izuku would destroy, absolutely obliterate a ton of robots. After absolutely obliterating a ton of robots, it was practically over. The entrance exam was coming to a close, but with the last couple minutes, Yue would open up the doors for the 0-point robot. The 0-point robot was a terrifying, monstrous robot. Huge, massive, towering even over buildings, and this monstrous robot seemed kind of out of place. Frankly, a robot like this should not be in a test of this magnitude, and it begins to walk forward, forcing rubble and also buildings to collapse. This would then lead to a young lady by the name of Ochaco Uraraka to be covered in rubble, not being able to use her quirk because of how much she used it before. She's stuck, unable to move, and she can't do a single thing. Izuku is going to run away, just avoid this robot like he was told, but when he sees this, he jumps on the opportunity. He takes off and immediately tries to protect the young girl. He reaches his hand out, sending electricity and lightning all around, creating a wall of some sorts of electricity. As he builds up electricity made out of a giant wall, he begins to send it forward toward the robot. The robot is then being pushed back by this lightning, and this lightning is holding the robot just enough to hopefully allow Izuku to clear the rubble. He begins to hold the lightning with one hand and clear the rubble with the other, as the girl basically is telling him to leave before the robot overtakes the wall. Izuku would then close his fist as the wall begins to collapse on the robots, as it begins to get covered in electricity and lightning. Covering it would then begin to short-circuit it slowly but surely, but Izuku knows this is going to lead to the collapse of the robot, and it's going to lead to the collapse of the robot straight forward. Izuku then turns as the lightning begins to fade, and on top of that, the robot begins to fall. Izuku would grab the girl and begin to fly using only his fire quirk, being that he overused his lightning quirk. He begins to slightly fly, but when you're using only half of your quirk and only, well, half of your body to fly, you're kind of spinning. He tells her that he hopes that she's okay with dizziness and begins to fly, basically spinning in circles. But as they escape the range of the falling robots, he puts her down as he's kind of dizzy himself, and he falls down. He kind of laughs about this, but he sees that the exam is now finally over. Recovery Girl is making her way out to help as many people as possible, and Izuku picks up the girl once again to help her to Recovery Girl, sitting her down and telling her that everything's good now, that she should be healed up in a matter of seconds, very, very soon. Izuku waves off any healing from Recovery Girl and says that it's a pleasure to meet Recovery Girl, and it was a pleasure saving, well, whoever that is. Izuku would smile as he runs off. It's as if he's so quick. He knew these things would happen, and he doesn't want to even stay longer to conversate or even chat. He's so serious. It's kind of odd, because Izuku has always been a cheerful kid, and he still is, but he knew what this meant. He knew what this meant for himself, for his future, and for his family. And he knew that he needed to take this very, very seriously. And the only way for him to take it that seriously is he needed to stay locked in the entire time, including after. After it's all said and done, though, Izuku would be extremely, extremely satisfied at the fact that he did everything he possibly could and everything in his power, which, frankly, is all you could really ask for. When someone does their absolute best, no matter what, it's flat out something that nobody else could even more or less argue with. This is something that Izuku has done, and this right here is something that Izuku can be commended for and can commend himself for. With that said, he heads home to his mother, and to speak with her about how it went, how everything went. He begins to talk to her about how well he did, what he was able to do with his quirk, and how he's able to basically utilize his fire quirk as kind of a support quirk in a way, allowing him to maneuver and move really quickly, like, well, flying. He's able to utilize it in such a way, but he says that in terms of power, it's nowhere near the one, basically his lightning quirk, not even close. But she says there's nothing to worry about. He's always worked on his lightning quirk first, so there's a reason for that. Maybe it's time for him to set aside his lightning quirk, at least for an extent, and work on that fire side. Because frankly, at the end of the day, he does not want to overuse his fire side and get himself hurt. Izuku will agree with this, or does agree with this statement, and begins diving into utilizing his fire quirk and actually sustaining his body more and more using his flames. Frankly, the combination of both flames and also lightning isn't the most concrete combo. Of course, he can make combos and obviously make beautiful attacks that are so powerful, but in terms of sustainability, it's extremely difficult. It feels draining, and yeah, the UA entrance exam felt easy, but that was also because it was beneficial that they were robots. It was a lot easier because of that. So he was able to just lean on his lightning side and win pretty easily. But what about other things? What about other villains that can counter him? That's something to think about way later on, but still, it's something he's worried about. With that said, though, they do celebrate a bit before he gets back to training, and eventually, after a couple weeks would pass, a letter would finally come from UA. His mother would be crying and entering the room saying that the letter is finally here. He would open the letter to see a hologram. That hologram is of All Might. All Might congratulates him, congratulating him on being the #1 in the entrance exam, saying that he is welcome and he's joining Class 1A and he got in to UA High School. He says that he talked to him, well, all those 10 months ago, and he knew that he would be talented, and he knew he had the chance to be great. And this is now time for Izuku to prove that. Izuku is extremely happy. Like, there is no words that can describe how happy, ecstatic he is. He's trained so much, worked so hard. He knew what these quirks could do to his body if he didn't train, so he knew that he had to put his body through hell, and he did. And now he's here, the top student in UA. He's here to prove everybody, prove to everybody, prove to himself that he's the best. And he'll get his chance very, very soon. First stop is the first day of UA. And when he arrives, he sees a giant door, and frankly, it's intimidating. What kind of monsters, freaks are in here? He doesn't even know, but he can't wait to write them down in his journal. When he walks in, though, he sees the one and only Katsuki Bakugo, someone he did not want to see. But at the end of the day, Bakugo is talented, powerful, so of course, he would be sitting at a desk near Izuku. They're on the same playing field to an extent, but Bakugo feels that he's far superior. Izuku would ignore Bakugo as he's yelling with a blue-haired boy. The blue-haired boy would walk over to Izuku, eventually speaking with him, shaking his hand, being, well, nice, being grateful, whatever. He's kind of an odd kind of person, but still, he's a nice kid. Bakugo would yell at Izuku, saying that he doesn't deserve to be here and he shouldn't be here, but Izuku just ignores him. Eventually, the yelling would subside because Aizawa would walk into the room. Before Ochaco could even say a word to thank Izuku for his help, Aizawa tells all of them to shut their mouths, that this is not social time. This is not time for them to chat, get to know each other, anything like that. He doesn't care about their friendships, their feelings. All he cares about is them getting stronger and being heroes. That's it. That's what he's here for. That's what he gets paid for, and frankly, doesn't get paid enough for. But still, he tells them all to head outside, get on their PE uniforms, and get ready for an assessment. Someone raises their hand and is about to ask about orientation, but Aizawa, before even hearing what they have to say, shuts it down, saying that they get praised enough. They don't need to get praised more. He tells them again to all head out right now. The real, or first, test of UA is about to begin, and that test is with the Quirk assessment. The Quirk assessment is more or less straightforward. The physical exams that you've gone through and during middle school, Aizawa sits there and begins to explain. You're going to throw a ball. You're going to run as fast as possible. You're going to do whatever you used to do in middle school, but this time, you can use your Quirk. Are we all in understanding? Everybody says that they understand, and Aizawa points at Izuku, telling him to come up here to throw the ball. Everyone is confused. What order are they going in? And Aizawa says that Izuku got the number one score in the entrance exam, so they'll go in order of whoever's the best. Izuku would grab the ball as he gets ready to throw it. He can feel power surging through his body. Should he use his electricity or his lightning? Should he use his fire side? What's better? How would it help? Would he be able to travel anywheres? He thinks hard, long. What is he supposed to do? I mean, he wishes that he was just, well, strength. He had strength, but he has to get creative. Izuku thinks, but then eventually Aizawa tells him to hurry up. Izuku nods as he focuses, and he lifts the ball with his right hand, being that of where his flames would come out of. But that's not what Izuku's going to use. Izuku begins to channel lightning in his other hand, as if a bolt begins to basically form in his hand. This bolt begins to slowly but surely changing into more of a disc-like figure, and he then throws the disc as he throws the ball on top of the disc, and it shoots off into the sky. Eventually, the disc would dissipate, almost in a matter of seconds, evaporating into basically nothing. But this momentum would carry the ball super far, actually throwing the ball to about 1,000 meters. The ball rode the lightning, you could even say. With that said, though, he's ecstatic, happy. Aizawa kind of smirking in a way, kind of creepy. But I mean, frankly, anything Aizawa does is kind of creepy. But Aizawa says that it was a very creative way to use it, especially when he knows physically he's not that strong. Impressive. Izuku goes back in line as many others begin to conclude their ball throw, including Bakugo, who gets just under Izuku, in which he's frustrated at the fact that he couldn't and didn't beat Izuku. But this may even make Bakugo stronger in the long run wanting to train even harder and even more in the future. But everyone begins to basically clamor about how interesting, how amazing this is going to be, how fun. This is like a game. But of course, Aizawa does not like that. He does not like the idea that they think this isn't serious, and he'll make it serious, telling them all that whoever gets last will be expelled, definitely ups the ante, in which Izuku isn't too worried about it because, frankly, why would he be? He's already the top student, and there's no way he's going to flop on all the rest of the portions of this quirk assessment. And you'd be correct to make that assumption as well, because Izuku would have no problem with the grip strength. Yes, of course, it would be a little bit more difficult, but through just training himself and just, utilizing his lightning quirk, he's able to put a little bit more emphasis on that squeeze, and he's able to get a pretty decent score. Nothing insane, but pretty decent. In terms of the sprint, or basically the run or the straight line, very easy as well. He utilizes both of his quirks, his fire side and his lightning side, to try and fly. It's only a short distance, so he doesn't really need to worry about stamina in the long run. Easy peasy. He makes it past there without a hitch, and he'd be pretty quick as well. With the rest of the things, side steps, whatever you want to think about, he does really well. I mean, no doubt about it. Leading him to getting first in the quirk assessment as well. There would be no doubt that he would get first. I mean, he would do really well on every single category. Bakugo would be pretty close. Same thing with Shoto Todoroki, in which Shoto has been very keen on watching Izuku. He has fire as well. This is weird. Izuku is kind of tripping Todoroki up, as if like, why does he have a fire side? He's just like Todoroki, but he's using his fire side. This would inherently make Todoroki not really like Izuku, but let's be honest, there's no reason for him not to like Izuku. It's just because he has a fire side and he's using it, and it would just make Shoto highly uncomfortable. With that said though, Izuku doesn't even know really Shoto Todoroki and who he is. He knows about him a little bit, but he doesn't really have much grudge, or wasn't even really watching him either. But at the end of all of this testing, it would be all wrapped up. An invisible girl would have the last place on the exam, and frankly, that would be no surprise in my opinion. She would get last place, but Aizawa would eventually say that he just kind of did it as a hoax. He wouldn't really want to expel anybody, and he would see the potential that every single one of them has, even including Invisible Girl. I mean, that's a pretty good quirk, especially for a hero to have, stealth-wise and so on. So he tells them that it was just a hoax, even though they know later on that this was no hoax. He would have genuinely expelled everyone and genuinely expelled the person that got last place. It's just something that he would do and something he does, just to prove a point at least. With that said though, this day would be wrapped up and finished. One of the hardest days, I assume, and many would assume, Class 1A would ever have. Well, actually, at least in comparison to what they've done in the past. Most of these kids, most of these people, have not trained, have not worked hard. Izuku, on the other hand, has. There's a difference. All of them, or most of them, haven't really trained, worked hard, stressed their quirks, but frankly, that's whoever the strongest are normally the ones that have stressed their quirks, and you have to be extremely gifted to just be powerful on your own. Izuku would arrive the next day and be excited to see what they're going to do next. And this would be something that Izuku would definitely be interested in, and that is hero training. Heroes versus villains. Aizawa would say that this isn't his thing necessarily, so he'll be passing them off to All Might. He enters the room with a large "I am here" and tells them all to get on their hero outfits. Izuku would do just that, and frankly, they've been building this hero outfit for a long time, perfecting it and making it perfect for his half fire, half lightning side. Basically being able to channel his lightning and fire through gauntlets that are far better than you would possibly imagine. They're simple though, nothing too crazy, nothing like a grenade gauntlet like Bakugo, but similar in the aspects of being able to control it, being able to concentrate these blasts through his gloves so he doesn't have to basically waste stamina on condensing it, which is definitely beneficial. When he made that disc that basically the ball rode on into the sky, it was very difficult to concentrate it, and it made him extremely tired, but luckily he didn't have to do much else in terms of real physical and really hard activities after that, so it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But still, these gauntlets and his suit is built for him to basically have success with concentrating his lightning and also his fire. And he does have a setting where it opens up a little bit more outside of just, just concentrated blasts. When he arrives with All Might, and All Might begins to speak to the class, he begins to tell them all exactly what's going to happen, what they're going to do, and exactly what the hero training will look like. Heroes versus villains. Villains will be protecting a bomb, and the heroes need to seize that bomb. The villains win if they capture both the heroes, or the time runs out. Heroes win if they touch the bomb, meaning that they seize the bomb. And this would get everyone excited. Everyone is excited to go full on, all out, and show exactly what they can do. And this is going to be a perfect time for Izuku to go head on with Bakugo. But they don't get to choose who they go against. So it's going to be a little bit different, because Izuku will be going against Todoroki. Todoroki and Tenya Ida versus Izuku and Ochaco Uraraka. Todoroki and Tenya would actually be the heroes in this situation. Todoroki would have malice toward Izuku as if he doesn't like him. Izuku would try to be nice to him, saying that he wishes him good luck, but Todoroki doesn't even flinch, doesn't say a word. And Izuku's confused. Ochaco would ask what that was about, but Izuku says he doesn't even know who that guy is. I mean, he knows he's a Todoroki, which he can assume that his dad is, Endeavor, but he doesn't know who Todoroki really is at all. He doesn't know anything about him, and he assumes that Todoroki knows nothing about him too, which is a definite valid, thought process, because Todoroki literally doesn't, which is funny enough. But Izuku doesn't really think too much about it as they get ready to protect the bomb, hiding the bomb in a room and just basically putting it in a place where they don't have to worry about it. Izuku begins to talk about Todoroki and Tenya, about what he probably can see them doing, and that's, freezing the entirety of the building. So Izuku tells Ochaco that they should get into a situation or into a place where that they can avoid the frost and avoid all of the ice that is going to be accumulated. But here's the thing, if they do get hit with ice, he has fire. He can melt it off and it won't really matter at the end of the day, but it will become kind of annoying to fight within the ice. So he tells her that they're going to protect this bomb as much as possible, and wherever the bomb room is, he wants to more or less make it so they can't freeze over in that said room, which the 5 minutes would be up and Izuku would get ready for a giant bit of ice. He has no idea what it's going to look like, but the entire building begins to freeze. Izuku thinks that this is even worse than he thought it would be, and he begins to kind of heat up the room slightly. As he does, the ice melts away and it begins to turn into water. Izuku then thinks that he has an idea. A really, really good but bad idea at the same time. Izuku will tell Ochaco to follow him into the staircase and Ochaco would ask what they're doing. He begins to more or less heat up the ground. As the ground begins to turn to water, or at least the small bit of it begins to turn to water. As the water begins to pile up because of the ice and the thickness of the ice as well, it begins to kind of drip throughout the building. And as it drips throughout the building, it begins to more or less make more and more water. No, he's not going to flood the building. That's literally impossible with the amount of ice that Todoroki would expel. But right when they hear a splash, right when he can hear footsteps, he hears Todoroki and Tenya touch ice, and touch water. Izuku would tell Ochaco to stand on a guardrail and do not touch water at all. Do not at all. She begins to basically levitate, thinking that this would be the better idea, in which Izuku nods and kind of smiles, thinking that is probably the best idea. He then grabs her hand as they both levitate, and he begins to send a pulse of electricity or lightning toward that water, as it begins to transfer throughout the water, electrocuting everything, and eventually electrocuting Todoroki and Tenya Ida. They get zapped, and Izuku would immediately retract the lightning and the electricity out of the water after he hears their reaction, diving down, covering them in capture tape, as they're both deemed the winners. Now, Izuku needed to make sure to regulate, because frankly, yeah, he's a villain, or technically a villain, but he didn't want to send electricity like crazy and lightning like crazy and, well, kill two people. That probably wouldn't be the best idea. So he did regulate it, so it wasn't too bad, just enough to kind of stun them and put them down enough so that he could capture them. Ochaco is happy to see that that plan worked out so well, and it was something that was on the fly. Izuku didn't even really think about it until they were kind of already in the situation, which is pretty impressive if I say so myself. Izuku would be happy they won, and All Might would explain certain things about basically what they could have done better and what Todoroki and Tenya Ida could have done better. He explains that, well, at the end of the day, you have to know and basically figure out what someone's quirk is before putting yourself at a massive disadvantage, because you may think that you're setting yourself for a massive advantage, but that advantage could turn into a disadvantage faster than you can possibly imagine, in which many others believe this to be very true as well. This is solid knowledge to know, and Izuku more or less schooled them, frankly, at the end of the day, made them look real bad at a possible quote-unquote advantage that they swore they were going to have. He then tells them if they're hurt, they can go to Recovery Girl, and that Todoroki and Tenya Ida did a good job too, but it's just something to think about. Izuku is happy that he won, and he appreciates the praises from All Might, of course. Bakugo, when he goes up though, he's pissed. He wasn't able to take on Izuku. That's who he wanted to take on. He wanted to take on the nerd, but trust me, he will get that chance sooner rather than later. With that said though, everyone begins to basically finish up their tests, or finish up their hero versus villains training, and everything would kind of go relatively the same, but this time around Bakugo would definitely get the win. I mean, there would be really nothing stopping him, and he would definitely be able to win this time around. But beyond that, they head off, and the day is basically over. I mean, they just do other stuff throughout classes, but the next day would finally basically arrive. That would be where everything would change in the mindsets of every single young hero in Class 1A. Because the USJ is a rescue training facility, and their rescue training facility is something that is gonna go real bad, because they will need rescuing. Izuku and Class 1A will be put in a situation that no child, no kid, no teen would possibly think they would be in. A long bus ride of chatter, a long bus ride of innocent bickering about whose quirk is the best will be the last time, and the last time they will be smiling, at least for a little bit. Because when they open those doors to the USJ and Pro Hero 13 allows them to step in, their fates for the rest of their lives were sealed. Because the first time they see villains is a place that they felt was going to be safe. A place that was going to be good for them. Their own school, within a rescue center, and within a training center. The League of Villains will arrive. Shigaraki, a Portal, Kurogiri, a Nomu, and hundreds of villains would arrive right in front of them. Aizawa would look to his kids, look to the kids he needs to protect, and as a pro hero, And as, well, a proper hero, he would charge forward into the field of battle. But how will the students react? How will Izuku Midoriya react to truly the first terrifying event? The sludge villain may have been scary. The sludge villain may have gave him a little bit of hesitance. But this is a full-on villain attack with no escape. Will he be able to channel the lightning and channel the fire to protect everyone around him, and on top of that protect himself? Well, you'll have to find out if the people of Class 1A and the students of Class 1A will need rescuing, or will they be able to defend and rescue themselves. And that is the end of part 2 of What If Deku had a half fire, half lightning Quirk. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope y'all enjoyed part 2 of this What If. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.